Breaking news. Rob Winnett, who Will Lewis selected to start as editor after the November election, is out. He withdrew and will stay in Britain after the uproar over his journalistic record. As I've spoken about here before, Lewis and Winnett have worked together at two different papers in the UK. He is currently the deputy editor of the Telegraph Media Group. One of the issues that people have with this record is the fact that one of his big stories was secured because Lewis signed off on a six-figure pound deal to buy a stolen government database from a whistleblower. Speaking of that, remember that opinion piece from the president of the UK's Media Society? I did a video on this yesterday, but it was basically, the US media has bad people too. Like, in the grand scheme of things, is buying stolen government property that bad? And actually, given how hesitant the UK media is to keep a real check on power, it is kind of really surprising and bad because it's so out of the norm. Besides the fact that I don't really think you can make an ethical argument about paying for stories. All this piece from Byline Times is not technically a rebuttal to that op-ed. Points are made. While James Ball wrote in his op-ed for Politico that there's not a wide gulf between US and UK media ethics, Brian Cathart of Byline Times disagrees. He leaves no crumbs on this opening. The current editors of no fewer than 5 UK national newspapers either stand accused of having employed unlawful methods to gather information or have been found by judges to have done so. I do that. Includes editors of The Sun and The Sunday Times, which is one of the better UK national papers. They are part of accusations made against the Mail in a breach of privacy case brought by people like Elton John and Prince Harry. Then there's Victoria Newton, who's the editor of The Sun, who has also been accused, along with David Dillon, current editor of the Mail on Sunday. The 5th editor is Gary Jones, who is the editor-in-chief of The Express. He has been found by not one, but 2 high court judges to have been deeply involved in lawbreaking. Express UK is owned by Reach Media, and Gary Jones is still employed. Hasn't been fired for that. What could be considered wild, especially in the UK, where it is such a cutthroat media industry, especially among the tabloids, none of the other competitors have been writing about this because their own editors-in-chief in some cases have been accused of the same thing. What is pervasive in UK media, whether you follow politics, whether you follow the royal family, is the way that not only they protect powerful institutions, considering their partisan or pro-monarchy leanings, but they also protect themselves. At the end of the day, you're another day older, and the UK media does not keep a check on power. They keep a check on the powerful relationships that they have that they do not want to jeopardize, which means people are not getting the reporting that they deserve. Not only are other American media outlets reporting breathlessly on this Washington Post issue, which is important to journalism as a whole. The Washington Post is also reporting on this, and since word came out that he was trying to suppress stories about himself and investigations into himself, the Washington Post has brought back Cameron Barr to oversee those investigations. Reputation matters because doing the work matters, because it matters whether you become a paper or a media group that covers up stories and misdeeds or reports on them, no matter how ugly and potentially damaging they even are to your own brand, because at the end of the day, I'm not going to do it again. The end of the day, it's going to do much more good for your long-term reputation and your ability to get back on track than it would to go down the path of covering it up. Good reporting should provide a check on power. And this is not to say that the US is perfect at this. Obviously, we're not. But this matters. It really matters. And the more you let things go south, the harder it gets to dig yourself out of that hole. And then you are just trying to fight for the things that you lost in the first place before you can even get to the gains of really revolutionizing an institution. Anyway, this feels really fitting as we approach America's Independence Day.